So today I want to talk about the way in which I get business leaders to think about AI in the context of business and control and flexibility and privacy over their data. I'm going to talk about one of the slides or a few of the slides that I use in the AI strategy workshop that I hold for business leaders. And this one talks about the spectrum of AI solutions. To understand this better, let's look at transportation, right? Let's look at the various modes of transportation and the kinds of the levels of control, flexibility, and privacy you have. Then we're going to map that to AI solutions in the context of business. So as you can see, we're looking at four modes of transportation. The first one is public transport, the popular bus. The second one is ride hailing. And then we have private transport when you own your own vehicle. And the last one is vehicle manufacturing, where you have the capability of fabricating your own vehicle. On a public bus, you have very little control over the schedule, which means you have less flexibility. If the bus is coming by 9 a.m., you need to be there by 9 a.m. If it comes every 30 minutes, you have to be there at that appointed time. No flexibility and you have no control over it. And of course, the moment you get on the bus, you waive your privacy. It's a public space and there's no privacy that comes with it. But in terms of cost, it's relatively affordable. It's quite cheap compared to the other modes of transportation. Now, when we look at ride hailing, with ride hailing, you have a little bit more control when you compare it to public transportation, the bus, and you have a bit more flexibility and, of course, a higher level of privacy when it comes to using ride hailing. Even though you still have your data exposed when you make a request on the platform, not in a bad way, but you're sharing your data on the platform, making a request. They know you took this ride at this time with this particular driver from this location to that location. All that data you have to give up in order to enjoy the ride hailing service. Control and flexibility, yes, you have some more degree of control there and flexibility when compared to the public transport. But even with that, it's limited. If you stay too long before you get on the vehicle you've requested for, you may get charged. And you may not be able to just move between points, different from what you had already ordered for. So there's more flexibility, more control, more privacy, but it's still limited. The third thing we can look at in terms of mode of transportation is private transportation. When you own your own vehicle, all of a sudden you have a higher degree of control, a higher degree of flexibility, and privacy. You can decide when you want to move, how you want to move, who you let into the vehicle, where you go to, how long you stay, and whatever you do on your journey. It's up to you. And you have total privacy over your use of that vehicle in and around it. The other form, which is not necessarily transportation, but if you're able to manufacture your own vehicles, let's say you have that capability, then you have the highest level of control, flexibility, and privacy over what you can do with, vehicles, that move from point to point. It means you can fabricate vehicles for special purposes, special shapes, special, means of movement, whether it's tires you want to use, whether it's going to be like a hovercraft kind of technology, or it's going to have chains like a tank. You have full control over the shape and form of the vehicle. You also have all the benefits of having your own private vehicle, right? When you're manufacturing yours, because you can take it where you want to go to. You have flexibility, you have privacy. So this gives us an idea of transportation in terms of control, flexibility, and privacy. In terms of cost, we've agreed that the bus transportation, public transport, is the cheapest form of transportation in this context. Then followed by ride hailing, and then buying your own car is going to cost you a little bit more because you have more control and flexibility. And of course, vehicle manufacturing is going to be the highest cost because you have so many other things involved, so many other overheads. You need a lot of skills, a lot of expertise to come together, work in various teams, meet regulations to produce vehicles in the shapes and sizes that you want, which gives you the highest level of control, flexibility, and privacy. So with this example, we get leaders thinking about, okay, this is how these things play out in terms of transportation. Now, we can easily map the spectrum of AI solutions onto these various forms of transport. And they have very similar ratings in terms of control, flexibility, and privacy, and cost as well. When you use surface level AI tools like AI chatbots and other AI tools which you use online, it's very similar to taking a bus ride. When you use no-code, low-code AI automation tools, these map closely to ride hailing and its own advantages and disadvantages. When you talk about AI integration, where you take an existing AI model and map it into your own business using software, custom software, then that is very similar to owning your own private vehicle and using it as you please. And if you're developing AI models as a solution for your business, as a way of using AI in your business, then you have the highest degree of control, flexibility, and privacy because you're building a model from scratch. But just like in the vehicle manufacturing example, you're going to spend way more because you need to gather the data, clean the data, get the expertise, get the infrastructure, put the processes in place to produce these models. And even after you produce the models, you have to keep that process going over and over to keep your models fresh and all of that. And then all of a sudden, the costs increase as well. So as a business leader, you need to view AI within this context. This is just one slide or two slides from the workshop I carry out with business leaders. And this is just one framework that I share out of, I think, 4 or 5 frameworks that I share with business leaders on these AI strategy workshops. So this is how you need to think about AI and using it in the context of business. To put it in another way, when you look at these forms of transportation, these forms of AI solutions, you could actually just draw a line right between where you have private vehicle and ride hailing. So you have bus and ride hailing on the left, private vehicle and manufacturing on the right, which also means you have AI chatbots, no-code automation tools on the left, and then AI integration, AI development, AI model development on the right. Now that line that separates them is exactly where control starts. When you're using public transport or ride hailing, you have less control over the vehicles and the schedule. But when you're doing AI integration or building your own custom model, which is similar to, in our example, having your own private vehicle or manufacturing vehicles, you have a higher degree of control. Now, flexibility and privacy, they follow control. Wherever you have control, it means automatically you also have flexibility. And if you have flexibility and control, then it means you can retain privacy over your data. So whenever you think about using surface level tools, no-code automation, AI chatbots in your business, just know that you're sacrificing control, flexibility, and privacy. And if you're using AI integration and model development, then you have more control. Now, personally, I am more biased to advising businesses to go with AI integration because it gives them the best balance of control, flexibility, and privacy and cost. Because model development has a very high cost. You need the experts, you need the infrastructure, and so on. All of that costs way more. But if you can take existing models, especially if you're able to evaluate which model fits your business and your concerns and your regulations and whatever, you can take that at a lower cost and just integrate it into your own business. That form or that action of integrating AI into your business gives you a high degree of control, flexibility, and privacy. So it's this sweet spot. You don't spend so much in model development, but then you get all the benefits. Because I know with businesses, especially mid-sized businesses, control and privacy over your data is a big concern. The moment you step over the control line and you move to, AI chatbots, no-code, low-code automation tools, which is similar to which is similar to public bus and ride-hailing in this context we're talking about, then you waive control, you lose flexibility, and then you lose privacy. Now, this doesn't mean that you won't use these solutions in combination in your business, but it's good for you to think through it, right? This is a thinking framework, right? The spectrum of AI solutions. I present this to business leaders as the way of thinking about AI, so you don't just get overwhelmed by the hype. When you think through it, you can make deliberate, intentional decisions as to which AI solution approach you're going to take. In some parts of your business, it may be okay for you to use a third-party automation tool, as long as you know what risks are involved. But in majority part of your business, especially when you want to have like a competitive advantage, then AI integration is the way to go. So I hope this was able to clear up or give you some clarity, strategic clarity on thinking about AI. That's the goal of the AI strategy workshop I run with business leaders, to give them thinking frameworks on how they can cut through the hype, see AI for what it really is, see how they can bring it into their business, make intentional, deliberate decisions on how they want to use it so they can get that competitive advantage and not be left behind by choosing not to use AI or burying their head in the sand, not knowing how to use it. Instead, taking that deliberate move, using AI to move their business forward, get the competitive advantage, and of course, get that control, flexibility, and privacy, which is very important to businesses. Thank you.